When trying to build better privacy on your iPhone, one step you can take.
What a stupid fool. He calls himself a privacy advocate and he uses an iPhone? What a joke.
What I like about this security software is that the company takes your privacy seriously. And
Oh, really? Then why haven't they published all of their code as open source? Every single line. They're hiding something, you idiot.
And one of my favorite ways to protect my email address is to use one of these 3 methods.
Does one of them include only writing it on pen and paper from now on because everything digital is compromised?
Okay, you know what? I give up. You're right. It's pointless. This whole pursuit of better privacy is simply pointless. What am I even doing here?
Well, if you've ever felt this way before, and trust me, I've been attacked often enough in the comments of my own videos to feel like this too, I have something for you that I think you're going to like. Unless, of course, you're that privacy extremist, in which case you might want to go ahead and just click away right now. I'm currently studying the book of Ecclesiastes in the Bible. It's that one that starts off saying, meaningless, meaningless, everything is meaningless. And there are a lot of very interesting parallels in how the book addresses this feeling of futility. Even if you're not a Christian, I bet if you read through Ecclesiastes, you'd find yourself nodding a lot. It's not preachy. It actually comes across to most people as pretty relatable, actually. This idea that life is full of hopeless ideals is pervasive across so many different areas of life. Money, happiness, health, a strong marriage, personal goals, so on and so forth. The lie that we tell ourselves, and sometimes it's directly told to us, is that if you're not all in on something, you might as well throw in the towel because it's just a pointless waste of your time. If you've ever gone down the rabbit hole of extreme privacy and security, it can get pretty overwhelming pretty fast. I'm talking mobile phones that are flashed with an open source operating system and that are carried around without a SIM card because, telemetry. Or the whole Linux over Windows or Mac, cryptocurrency over fiat, end-to-end encryption for everything. And here's the thing. There's nothing wrong with any of that. I own crypto. I'm testing a phone with an open source OS, and I prefer end-to-end encryption. But if the standard for privacy is all of that and nothing less, we've got a problem. Then there's this constant news about new data breaches, company hacks, tracking mechanisms, and more that make it feel like all of our data is already compromised. And in some ways, there's a kernel of truth to that. So let's pause here for a quick reality check. Yes, your data is probably compromised, and yes, you are already being tracked by some device or service you use on a daily basis. And unless you're willing to live off the grid in the wilderness all alone, complete privacy is impossible in today's digital age. As Ecclesiastes says, it's no different than chasing after the wind. And as frustrating as that can feel, I want to challenge you and me to shift our perspectives on this privacy ideal and our progress towards that ideal. And I have some practical ideas and steps that we can take to do this. First, instead of thinking about privacy as a state in which you are completely invisible, untraceable, and without any kind of digital footprint, which, again, is impossible, I find it helpful to shift towards a definition of privacy as being intentional about who controls my online life. Over the many years of doing this, I've boiled it down to the one phrase that really sums up how I feel about this. Progress over perfection. What are the small priorities, the simple habits, or the helpful tools that you need to change in order to make progress in your privacy and security journey over the next few months? Using better tools is probably the easiest to accomplish here. These are things like a password manager, if you don't already have one, any internet browser other than Chrome, encrypted email, email aliases, and one of my favorites, a physical security key. You've heard me talk about YubiKeys before, but when we're trying to find easy, small steps that make a big difference, this ranks up really high for me. Every person who uses the internet can benefit from using one of these YubiKeys because they secure so many different parts of our online life, like your email, your social media accounts, your investment accounts, and more. When we talk about taking small steps toward progress, it's a no-brainer to purchase 2 keys. One is your primary, one is a backup, and then slowly start to add 2-factor authentication with this physical key to your accounts throughout the rest of this year. Now, I've partnered with YubiKey, who have sponsored this video, to offer you $5 off each key that you purchase through the link that you see right here. It's one small step, but it can make a significant impact. Now, in addition to making progress through better tools, there are also ways we can make incremental improvements to the habits that we have that can be really, really important. For example, even the simple habit of reconciling your bank account can make a difference. Just last week, I was reconciling my checking account when I found 2 fraudulent charges that led to me having to close that particular credit card. If I hadn't built the habit of reviewing my statements like I do, it could have been weeks or months before the fraud had been discovered and more damage could have been done. Right now, I'm currently building the habit of using email aliases for everything that I do online. And this is an example of a place where I may not have been great in the past, and it would be really time consuming to go back and to try to change all 400 of my online accounts that don't use an email alias. But I want to be intentional about making progress by changing this habit moving forward. Now, there are other habits related to how you communicate with people, how you share your personal information, how you browse the internet, and more that, depending on your priorities, can be steps toward progress in your privacy and security. Speaking of priorities, I've saved what I think to be the most important part of progress over perfection for last. What are your priorities? Too many times we might watch a cybersecurity YouTube video like this one and automatically assume that your priorities are the same as mine. They're not. We all have a scale that balances between security and convenience, and we choose which blocks of our digital lives to place on which side of the scale. For some people, the convenience of using an Apple or a Google phone is a higher priority than completely decoupling from big tech. For other people, the risk of being targeted as a high-profile or high-net-worth individual is so high that it is worth that trade-off on the convenience side. So before you start using Linux, an open-source mobile OS, or throwing away that SIM card, I want you to ask yourself, does this align with my personal privacy priorities? What exactly am I trying to protect, and from whom? I'm not trying to discourage you from going deeper down that privacy and security rabbit hole, but I do want to reinforce the value of small wins in your overall journey. Taking those steps toward better habits, better tools, and a better mindset are going to keep you from stressing out over your privacy and security and thinking that you have to get it all figured out now or else it's completely pointless. Even the author of Ecclesiastes in the Bible reminds us to sow your seed in the morning, and at evening let your hands not be idle, for you do not know which will succeed, whether this or that, or whether both will do equally well. In other words, the success of our privacy efforts is mostly out of our hands. The one thing that we can do is focus on making consistent progress, taking those simple steps that align with your priorities. So here's my question to you. What is that next small step that you're either already in the middle of taking or you know that you need to take next? I challenge you to leave that as a comment on this video. And then if you don't already have a YubiKey, you can grab one here or watch this video explaining how they work.